Shalom, welcome to the Jewish Task Force, JTF. My name is Chaim Ben Pesach, and we have another program with the great David Ben Moshe. This is a really important program because here we're going to tell you what to expect in the upcoming election. I believe that Joe Biden will drop out of the race. He'll be pushed out. And I believe that Kamala Harris will become the Democrat candidate who will run against Donald Trump. And we'll explain to you all the dangers involved here. And there's a lot of danger involved here. It's a very important time for us. And we're also going to discuss the latest polls. So what you can expect and what you should be hoping for in terms of who should be running against Donald Trump at this point. And if we have time, we're also going to go into, I think we'll have time, we're also going to go into AIPAC again. The so-called pro-Israel lobby spending $25 million to defeat a congressman in a Democrat primary. What a waste of money. What we could do with that $25 million. What a joke. But anyway, before we begin, this program is dedicated to Refuah Shlema, complete recovery for Liat Bat Shifra, Niv Bat Bina, Yitzchak Ben Sarah, Sharon Mitman, Shlomo Ben Sarah, Dorit Bat Sarah, Ruven Ben Shoshana, and Ruth Bat Sarah, and to Ilui Neshamot, elevating of the souls for Malka Bat Meir, Allegra Bat Shlomo, Daniel Nankin, Victor Chazdai, Pesach Zeb Ben Dov, Lunita Adler, Shifra Hoffman, Ruven Hoffman, Barry Hoffman, Haramir Kahana, Harav Binyamin Kahana, Tzipora Fegi, Bat Liba, Yosef Ben Meir, Robert Mittman, Dennis Shore, Helen Friedman, Charles Zolat, and Yair Levine. Well, this is certainly a very critical time that we're in because of the debate that took place where the late Joe Biden showed what we have been telling you all along. The Democrats and the left-wing media have been insisting that Joe Biden is perfectly fine and that it's just Republican propaganda to say he's not fit to be president. That's nonsense. That's just MAGA talking points. It's all nonsense. We saw a corpse at that debate. I mean, literally a corpse. He was unable to finish a single sentence. He got lost after 3 or 4 words. He would forget where he started. I mean, this is advanced Alzheimer's. This was, if this doesn't frighten people, that this is the president of the United States of America, the most powerful person on the face of the earth, with the nuclear codes that could lead to a nuclear obliteration of the whole human race, because the United States has the nuclear capability of obliterating the whole human race easily. If this doesn't frighten people, I don't know what would. I mean, you got to be insane. And the Democrats and the left and the media all insisted all along that this is all paranoia, it's all ridiculous. We told you the late Joe Biden. We've been warning you and telling you what the reality is. You've been getting the truth on this program. From the media, you never get the truth.
About the fact they said he's sharp as a tack in all the meetings he holds. You don't become sharp in the morning and then a corpse in the evening. You can sundown and get worse, but the difference is not going to be that drastic where you're alive in the morning and one step away from dead in the evening. Things do change. It's called sundowning, and it does happen, but it's not as drastic as they portray it with Biden.
Well, first of all, what they said was a lie. He's not sharp in the meetings at all. There's a report even in the New York Nazi Times today. The main headline in the New York Nazi Times today is that Joe Biden has been incoherent in meetings for a while now, completely incoherent. He gets lost, he gets confused, he doesn't even know where he is. This is the New York Nazi Times reporting this today. So what they've been telling us are all lies, cover up and lies. And think of what the consequences are for the United States and for the whole human race. This is what they wanted to impose on the world. This type of mummy in the White House This is what they wanted to impose. I mean, look at the evil over here, how evil these people are, just to save their crummy little jobs and their left-wing little talking points in the media. I mean, this is what they were willing to do. This shows you what type of treason we're dealing with. These people are traitors. The media are traitors. The Democrats are traitors.
Because China is watching this, Russia is watching this, Iran is watching this, and North Korea is watching this. And they know if they want to do something, now is the time before Trump becomes president.
They already knew before the debate. They knew that Biden's situation. I don't think they learned anything. Those countries did not learn anything new in the debate. They understood what was going on. But many Americans thought, they say he's okay. Maybe it's not that bad. Unbelievable. By the way, polls were taken after the debate. Some of the polls show that Biden and Trump are still tied. I mean, this is, if this country is a mental asylum. And here's a poll that you should be concerned about, the Reuters Ipsos poll. The Reuters Ipsos poll shows Biden 40%, Trump 40%, a tie. And shows Kamala Harris, his cackling hyena vice president, also similar numbers. And the other candidates, similar numbers, except for one, Michelle Obama. According to the poll, it's Michelle Obama 50%, Trump 39%, an 11% double-digit lead. That would be a landslide. And that's no bluff, because Barack Hussein Osama, the husband of Queen Kong, of Michelle Obama, Barack Hussein Osama, forgive me, I couldn't help it. I had to stick that in because she's such a disgusting individual. Anyway, Barack Hussein Osama, the husband of Queen Kong, he was elected twice overwhelmingly by the American people, in 2008 and in 2012. So there's a precedent for this type of insanity. So we definitely don't want Michelle Obama at the top of any Democrat ticket. We don't want her being the Democrat nominee. Fortunately, it appears as though she's not interested in running for president. That's what it seems to be. And also there's another problem she has and the other candidates have. If they reject Kamala Harris, I think Kamala Harris is going to be the Democrat candidate. I think Biden's going to be pushed out. He can't go on like this. I think he's going to be pushed out. And I think they're going to put Kamala Harris in his place. Why? She is clearly the worst candidate in terms of IQ. She has a lower IQ than probably than any other presidential candidate in history. She also has problems completing a sentence. She has a catastrophic record as district attorney of San Francisco, as attorney general of California. The crime rate skyrocketed when she was DA in San Francisco and when she was attorney general of California. She was a disaster, a politically correct, woke catastrophe. And so there are a lot of problems with her. And also she to show you what she was put in charge, Biden put her in charge of the border as vice president. He said, the one subject she's going to deal with, she's going to fix the border. He put her in charge of, when you saw what a great job she's done with that. Millions and millions of illegals have come flooding across, trampling on American cities and towns and communities. You can't even walk in the streets of New York or Chicago anymore. They're in the best hotels. They're housing them in the best hotels.
Can you imagine what those rooms look like when these illegals are through with that room?
We don't have to imagine. The hotels, you would think the hotels would want this because the city is giving them, they're paying the bill, right? You think the hotel would want it. They're getting the money. City's paying the bill. City's forcing them, by the way, to take in the illegals. And the city is paying the bill. So you would think that's good. Okay, listen, they got their hotel, all year round now. They got hotel rooms filled. They don't want it. because they wreck the hotels. They wreck everything. Anyway, this is what she was put in charge of. Everything she has ever touched has been an utter catastrophe. And remember, her husband, Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff. Doug Emhoff is a multimillionaire attorney from San Francisco. And he says that the problem is that people conflate the Jews with that terrible Israeli government with Israel. Oh, Israel. Oh, we don't like Israel. No. We're afraid. They're associating us with Israel. We don't want to be associated with Israel. He says the problem is, this is literally what he says. He says the problem is Jews are being blamed for the terrible policies of Israel. The wimpy Israeli government, which isn't using 1% of its military might that it should be using in full force against its Arab Nazi enemies. And he's saying this wimpy, pathetic response is so terrible. And it's terrible that Jews are being blamed for this. He doesn't like the fact that Jews are being blamed for this. So he's going to try desperately, if he gets into the White House as I don't know what they're going to call him, the first husband or the first wimp. If he gets into the White House, his whole focus is going to be on showing we Jews don't agree with Israel. We don't support Israel. Don't associate us with Israel and those Zionists. We're against Israel. We agree with the Arab Nazis. This is going to be his policy. And this has been the policy of the cackling hyena, Kamala Harris. The cackling hyena has been going further than Biden in her statements. Israel is going too far. It's disproportionate. It's terrible. The civilians, they all support the Hamas terrorists. They are all the Gazans are terrorists. They support the Hamas terrorists. If you support a terrorist, if you support Nazis, you're a Nazi. If you support Hitler, you're a Nazi. And they support Hitler. And they support the Nazis, and they support genocide. Always have, always will. And according to Kamala Harris and Doug Emhoff, these are innocent civilians. Doug Emhoff wants so badly to return the Jews to the image that they had before there was Israel. I mean, you remember the image of the Jews before there was Israel, when we didn't have... Now it's terrible. Jewish soldiers fighting back, winning victories, defeating their enemies against all odds. Brave, heroic Jewish soldiers. That's terrible. That's no good. No good at all. They want to go back to the day where if you say something bad to me, I'll hit you with a pickle. You know, that's the day they want to go back to. That's the days they want to go back to. I mean, unbelievable how much anti-Semitism this would cause. And, you know, and by the way, these self-hating, cowardly Jewish traitors like Doug Emhoff, they never get it. They never get it. Okay? They can walk. 6 million Jews are murdered during the Holocaust. They still didn't get the message. They never understand what's going on. They think the problem is, well, maybe we didn't give in enough. Maybe we didn't make enough concessions. Maybe we should give in more and more and more. And Doug Emhoff, by the way, he was married before. His other wife, another self-hating, no, she wasn't Jewish. His other wife was twice, by the way, intermarried. And his other wife was involved with the environment and green technology and all these other left-wing politically correct causes. By the way, Kamala Harris, she said her priority is going to be the Green New Deal. You know what the Green New Deal will do? That'll make the United States completely dependent on Arab, Muslim, and Iranian Muslim terrorist oil. That will triple and quadruple the revenue that the Muslim Nazi countries who produce oil are receiving from the United States and from other Western countries. It will triple and quadruple their revenue. Every Muslim country will have nuclear bombs if that happens. God forbid. That's the solution of Kamala Harris, the cackling hyena, and Doug Emhoff. Doug Emhoff. I want to go back to the days when instead of the Israeli army and soldiers and tanks and planes, and oh, that's terrible. We should be going back to the days when we went to the deli. That's what's important. To show them we gotta, and by the way, Doug Emhoff and people in his family, these are people, they were very active in Jewish causes like the civil rights movement. That's a Jewish cause for them. Helping anti-Semites who hate the Jewish people. That's a Jewish cause. Anyway, by the way, I cannot begin to describe for you what a catastrophe this will be if Kamala Harris becomes president with Doug Emhoff, her husband, in the White House. I can't even, first of all, she herself could never figure out policy because she's brainless. Okay, she has no brains whatsoever. Her husband, on the other hand, is an evil, cowardly, Judenrat capo, the lowest, the type of Jew who wants to prove to everybody how progressive he is. He's so enlightened. Oh, he's so progressive. He's very progressive. He's a real socialist. He's very good. This is where we're going to be going. You can't imagine how disastrous this would be. Just utterly disastrous. They will use the full power of the United States of America to demand that Israel commit national suicide, to demand that Israel accept a so-called Palestinian state, a Palestinian terrorist state in Judea, Samaria, Gaza, and Jerusalem. And with the weak Israeli leadership that we have in Israel, with that type of pressure, there's a real danger that would come about, God forbid. I mean, we're talking about suicidal behavior here. And as far as the border is concerned, if Kamala Harris was put in charge of the border now, that was just her task. Can you imagine if she's president of the United States? I mean, it's hard to imagine this, but she's actually even worse than the late Joe Biden. She's actually, as president, she'd be even worse than him. She's actually even worse than the corpse. Just unbelievable. She ideologically believes that we've got to allow the more the better illegals from the third world to come in and make them citizens as fast as possible so they can take over the United States, and so America will always have left-wing Democrats in charge. That's where she is. That's her policy, and that's Doug Emhoff, and that's all her supporters, and that's the left-wing media. They want as many illegals in the country as possible, and they want to fast-track them to citizenship as quickly as possible. They're doing very little compared to what they're going to do after the election, because it's election year and it's not popular. So they're even now they're letting millions in. After the election, when they don't have to face the voters, can you imagine what they're going to do? And we've seen this play out already in California, where Kamala Harris was DA in San Francisco, was the Attorney General of California, and then a U.S. Senator. We've seen what these policies do in California. California was a conservative state. Ronald Reagan was twice elected governor overwhelmingly with 57, 58% of the vote. And then when he ran for president, he carried California, I believe, with 59% of the vote, 58 or 59% in 1984. I mean, this was a conservative state, California. This was a state that had not voted for a Democrat for president for decades. For decades, it was one of the most Republican states in the country. Even though, by the way, Democrats outnumbered Republicans in the state, but millions of Democrats voted Republican because they wanted conservative policies. And so Democrats couldn't win in California. They could never carry California. The last president who carried California, the last president who carried California before 1992, when you finally had the demographic switch, was Harry Truman in 1948. After that, the Republicans won in the presidential election in California. in 1952, 1956, 1960, 1968, 1964, they lost Johnson. That was the one time because Johnson carried everything in the Johnson-Goldwater landslide. 1972, the Republicans won. 1976, the Republicans won. 1980, they won in California. 1984, the Republicans won in California. 1988, they won in California. So they won every single election between 1952 and 1992. For 40 years, they won every election except for the 1964 Johnson-Goldwater landslide, which was an exception. This was a state that voted Republican. And now, since the 90s, Republicans can't get elected dog catcher in California anymore. The whole state it's one of the most left-wing Democrat states in the country by far. Democrats win 2-1 in California now, in every election, 2-1. Huge landslide victories. Why? Because the state now, demographically, the state now is 64% non-white because of illegal immigration. 64% non-white. Okay, and it's the largest state in the country. And so what are the results of this? What did this lead to? Hundreds of thousands of people fleeing the state every year, moving to other states.
And these are the ones who produce. These are the ones that work. What you're leaving behind is a state full of parasites.
And not only are they fleeing the state, running out of the state in desperation, but the state's budget this year, for instance, just one state, California had I think it's a 46, if I'm not mistaken, $46 billion budget deficit. Their deficit is for one state is $46 billion. That's bigger than the budgets of 80% of the countries in the world. And this is one state with a $46 billion. They spend and spend and spend like there's no tomorrow. They're bankrupting the state. Miles and miles and miles of homeless encampments all over in communities that were once the shore of California, the most beautiful coast on the Pacific, beautiful mountains on the other side, all miles and miles and miles of smelly, drug-addicted, low-life, criminal people with either drug problems or alcohol problems or gang members living in tent cities. It's such a nightmare. And Kamala Harris was part of all of this. She played a big role in all of this to enable this to happen. And she wants this to happen because she wants the Democrats to take over everywhere. And of course, the illegals, all these illegals, they become majorities, they're going to take over. All of America will be like California. The whole country will be in a state of collapse, and literally in a state of collapse. That's where we're headed if Kamala Harris and Doug Emhoff and the left-wing Democrats succeed. So this is our prediction. We'll see if it comes true. Joe Biden right now is in the race, and they're insisting he's going to stay in the race. And the New York Nazi Times said there's only a small chance that he's going to withdraw. By the way, they've urged him to withdraw. They had an editorial urging him to withdraw, but they say that it appears there's only a small chance he's going to withdraw because he and his family are insisting that they're going to stay in the race. I predict, we'll see if I'm right, I predict that he will withdraw, that they'll get him out because it'll be unmanageable. I predict he'll be out. And I predict Kamala Harris will replace him. Now, I could be wrong. I'm not a prophet. Ani lo navi ve'ani lo ben navi. That means in Hebrew, I'm not a prophet. I'm not the son of a prophet. That's a saying in Hebrew. So I could be wrong, but that's where I see things going. I think it's going to be Kamala Harris replacing Biden on the ticket. And the reason they're going to be replacing, why would you want to put someone like Kamala Harris, who is so hopelessly stupid? Why would you want to put someone like her on as the presidential nominee? She's a complete moron. Now, In a debate, she can memorize lines. You can see the debate that she had with Mike Pence 4 years ago, that she memorizes lines. So she'll be able to debate. It's not going to be like Biden where we had a corpse. But she is so stupid and so unbelievably uninformed and has such a low IQ and is so incompetent and so incapable and has such a disastrous record. Why would you want to put this on the top of your ticket? Why would you want to do that? And the reason is because she's a black woman. And for them to say a black woman is vice president, we're going to go over her. We're going to push her aside and put someone else in charge when the number two is when the number two person, the vice president is a black woman. To do this to a black woman in the Democrat Party of today, I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's possible to do that. The only person who could get away with that would be Michelle Obama. If she got into it, God forbid, then we're really in trouble. But if she got into it, she's the one person who could do that, who could push her aside and get away with it. But if anybody else, you're going to put up a white candidate. You're going to push aside the black
Democrat Party been taking blacks for granted. They know they got them in their back pocket. So what difference does it make if you overstep a black woman?
No, black people will be offended. Black people demand, the blacks in the Democrat Party will be offended. Now, I believe that Donald Trump has an opportunity here to get black and Latino votes in this election. Why? Because even though Kamala Harris, let's say I'm right. Let's say it turns into a race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. That's my prediction. Let's say that happens. I know that the experts have their own, most of the experts have different predictions. I understand that. But that's my prediction. Let's say I'm right. Kamala Harris is a black woman and a Democrat. And 90% of the blacks in this country are Democrats. And about 75 or 80% of Latinos are Democrats. So, why would Trump have a chance in a situation like that among black and Latino voters? The answer is, there are two answers. One is the economy, and the second is crime. The economy. Remember Ronald Reagan's question to Jimmy Carter in the 1980 debate? Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Black and Latino voters know that they were better off under Donald Trump than they are with the economy as it is now, mainly because of inflation. Now, other things are going to happen to also make the economy a disaster if these people stay in power, like the big deficits and the giant spending and everything else. That's also going to catch up with all the economic statistics, and it's going to be disastrous. But right now, already Americans are experiencing tremendous inflation, and Americans realize that there's a very high rate of inflation here that we didn't have under Donald Trump. And so I think that I think most whites, are going to vote for Trump. Majority of whites are going to vote for Trump. And I think that he's going to get a percentage of the black and Latino vote, higher percentage than usual. He's not going to get most of the black and Latino vote, but he's going to get a higher percentage than usual because of inflation and because of the bad economy. People are hurting under this administration. The Biden-Harris administration is crippling American businesses and hurting the American taxpayers and hurting Americans who go to the store to buy their basic needs or who have to buy gas for their cars. They're hurting. Americans are hurting because of this administration. So I think that's going to help Trump. And he should run on the economy, very strongly on the economy and on inflation. And he should be comparing his administration to this administration, what it was under Trump and what the inflation rate is under them, under Biden and Harris. He should be making that comparison nonstop, because that is something that resonates with a lot of American voters. That bothers American voters. And there's a second issue. where I think that Trump could not only win the majority of the white vote, but also can get a nice share of the Black and Latino vote. And that's the issue of crime. Kamala Harris thinks it's racist to arrest criminals. And she thinks we should got to be humanitarian and we have to be nice. She let murderers out. She was letting murderers off. I mean, she thinks it's racist. And so, but Black and Latino communities are hit by violent crime and by drugs much harder than most white communities. A lot of them are having serious problems. They can't go to, their children can't go to school. They're not safe going to school. They can't walk the streets. They can't go to work. They can't do anything. They live in communities in fear. They're being terrorized. They know that America was safer when Donald Trump was president. They know that. And they know that under Kamala Harris, because she was the DA, she was letting all the criminals out. I think they'll be able to know what a Kamala Harris presidency will lead to. You won't be able to walk the streets at all. Women who you want the first woman president, that's really what's important to you, or do you want to be able to walk the streets without being attacked and assailed and assaulted by gang members, by violent predators,
shot,
or being shot or raped? What's more important? So let's hope that because of those issues, we're going to have, because of those issues, I hope Donald Trump will be able to win. I wanted to speak about AIPAC. I think we're going to leave that until next week. It's a shame because it's a great story and a very important story, but we'll leave that for next week. I will say one thing about Israel now. America gives so-called foreign aid to Israel, and we're against it. It's a disaster. What America does is America says to Israel, we're going to give you $3.8 billion, and you use that money to buy weapons in America. You can't make your own weapons. You can't sell weapons to foreign countries. You have to just be dependent on American weapons and buy all of them in America. And Dr. Tzvi, let me get his full name here. Dr. Tzvi Marom was he was the chairman of the Association of High Tech, the High Tech Association in Israel. And he's been doing interviews, and he recently said it cost Israel 4 times as much to purchase weapons from the United States as it costs to produce them within Israel. If Israel wants weapons for tanks or planes or missiles or laser or any of the other things they need for their survival, when they buy it from America, it's 4 times as expensive as it is if they produce it in Israel. The people who tell us, what are we going to do without America? We can't survive 5 minutes without America. Okay, the Doug Emhoff type Jews. It's the opposite is true. Israel cannot survive if she remains artificially dependent upon the United States. And when I say the United States, I don't want American Gentiles to get the impression here that the American people are benefiting by this relationship. They're not. We're talking about Israel purchasing these weapons from multinational corporations that are not even loyal to the United States. Okay? That gladly will sell weapons to America's enemies as well, and do sell weapons to America's enemies as well. So this is bad for everybody. Israel must become self-sufficient, and the one group that really has always stood for self-sufficiency in Israel is the Hilltop Youth. And we, of course, are the only group supporting the Hilltop Youth. If you love Israel and care about the Jewish people, you've got to support the Hilltop Youth. Let me tell you how you can help them. This is really what is essential at this point. You can go to our main page, our Hebrew main page, hayamin.org. And most of the page is in Hebrew, but there's a donate button in English on top. Big donate button in English on top. You click on the donate button, and you can, in several minutes, very easily and conveniently donate to help the heroic Hilltop youth so that we can prevent the creation of a Palestinian terrorist state, God forbid, which would be suicide for Israel. That's if you want to donate online. If you want to donate through the regular mail, you send checks and money orders to JTF, made out to JTF, and you send it to JTF P.O. Box 650327, Fresh Meadows, New York 11365. You'll be doing a great mitzvah. You'll be helping the most wonderful, heroic, self-sacrificing Jewish idealists in the world. The Jews that are really a light unto the nations and a holy nation, a nation of priests. That's the Hilltop youth. What the Bible says we're supposed to be, that's what they are. And if that's what you want, and you want them to win, and you want Israel to survive and flourish, we have to help the Hilltop youth. And this is the way to do it. David?
Well, I just have a little. What I did have was a long nostalgic story, but I'll save that for next week. The stuff that happened this week, all the action with Biden was just too important, and we're running a little late, so I'll save that for next week. But in San Francisco now, they're considering, and California was once the golden state. Everybody wanted to live there. The state was so long, running from the south of the United States to way up north. You had all kinds of weather, but mostly the weather was nice till you got way north. It was rich. It was the world's 5th largest economy once upon a time. And as Chaim said, it voted Republican, so it was conservative. And it has become a disaster. A disaster. Well, now in San Francisco, with all the stores closing because of crime, and this is definitely because of crime, and there are signs in the streets that if you're going to steal not less than $950 so that you won't face a felony. Well, the stores can't put up with that, so stores are leaving left and right, including pharmacies. And now the residents there have no place to go fill their prescriptions. And grocery stores are leaving too. So you have no place to go buy the food you need for the week. So you're going to have to go somewhere else, longer travel, which at the price of gas is expensive. In San Francisco, the city is proposing that they're going to sue you if you're a grocery store and you don't give them at least 6 months notice that you're leaving. So that's up for debate. We'll see what happens with that. And then, of course, we all saw what happened in the debate last week. Joe Biden, you couldn't even follow what he was saying. This is more than a facial stroke. This looks like he's being overtaken by Alzheimer's now. And I recognize Alzheimer's. My mother got it when she was about 82. She lived to 94. My father got it at 68. He lived to 72 with it. But his was probably, I can't say definitely, I'm not a doctor or a scientist. His was probably brought on by raging sugar in his body. He had extremely mild diabetes. They said they couldn't give him insulin shots because he needed so little insulin. It would have been too much. His sugar would have gone low. So he was on pills. In those days, you took 2 Ornace in the morning and 2 in the evening, and you had to watch your diet. But his sugar was raging because, like me, he had a sweet tooth. I used to catch him sneaking into the kitchen, and I'd stop him because he'd want ice cream and cake that was in there. So that's what happened to him. He got Alzheimer's. In those days, it wasn't even called Alzheimer's. I remember the doctor telling him it's probably hardening of the arteries in the brain. So I know what Alzheimer's looks like. I went through it, and it's hell. It's the worst disease for the family. If someone has cancer, at least they could take care of themselves until the very end. But you have Alzheimer's, your 24-hour day becomes a 36-hour day. And you have to do everything. And you can't leave them alone because they could burn your house down because they don't know what they're doing. And when you get to intermediate and later stages, what I mentioned before is they sundown. They become very aggressive. Not all. Some are very nice. But I saw my father become very aggressive. And my father was a true not a gentleman, but a gentleman. He was the male version of Chaim's mother. The sweetest man you'd ever want to meet. And I saw him get very aggressive, especially as the day went on. It got worse and worse. So you see Biden yelling a lot, and he can't control his aggression now. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's saying. His mouth hangs open. And the rest of the world is watching this. This is the leader of the so-called free world, what's left of it. But this is our leader. He should actually step down now because we're in danger with this man at the helm. And the question is, who's running the country? Is it Barack Obama from behind the curtain where the Wizard of Oz was? Or is it Jill Biden running the country? She was pleading with him. Did you see after the debate that she treated him like a child? Joe, you did so good. You got through the debate. You answered every question. He didn't understand any question, so I don't know how he answered every question. And then, this was already, the cameras were off now, but somebody filmed this. She had to hold him up going down the 3, 4, 5 steps where I guess he was interviewed or something, or the family was interviewed. And the next day at Camp David, she pleaded with him to stay in the race, but not as much as Hunter Biden pleaded with him. Because Hunter knows if his father isn't president anymore, he doesn't have the cover of being the son of the president. And whatever happens to him could be much worse because they're not going to hold back if Joe is no longer president. So they're pleading with him to stay in the race. Jill Biden said she loves when she's in a caravan with the president's car and all the Secret Service, and the light is red and they don't have to stop and everybody else has to stop. She loves that. She said special privileges for her for being where she is. She actually admitted that. Well, of course you don't want the car to stop because it could be an attack. Or maybe in this case it might be better. But under normal circumstances, you don't want the car to stop because who knows what kind of terrorists are laying in wait for it. But she loves the power. And I think she's sharing the power with Barack Obama, but even Obama is now saying he should drop out. And Jill Biden is saying no. I hope Joe stays in till the end. I don't want to see him drop out. I want to see a landslide victory for Donald Trump. And of course, polls are just snapshots in time of what's going on right now. And things change. You don't know what's going to happen between now and Election Day. Things could turn upside down. But a few polls, I don't know how reliable they are, showed that even some states that always vote Democrat now show Trump in a slight lead. Of course, national poll, who knows? Rasmussen shows Trump up by 10 points, but the next day it could be he's up by 4 points, and a week later he's down by 1. So all these polls, poll after poll after poll, it's just a snapshot in time. What really matters is, say, the week before, and if they're honest, and get a true sample. And I want to conclude with some things that happened. Oh, also with Joe Biden's policy of Build Back Better. How many people wore Trump hats? How many people wore MAGA hats, especially MAGA hats? You don't see anybody wearing a Build Back Better hat. Why is that? And now, in Paris, there's so much hate against Jews that one of the rabbis, I don't know if he's a head rabbi of Paris, it's the Jewish religion is not set up like the Catholic Church, where it's a strict structure. So, but one of the rabbis said Jews should get out of France. There's no future for Jews in France, and Jews should be going to Israel. in North Carolina, a Jewish man, excuse me again, a Jewish man was sitting in the library when pro-Palestinians came in with the Palestinian flag and screaming, free, free Palestine, free, free Palestine. If they're not Arabs, if these are American kids, and you ask them, where's Palestine? They couldn't answer. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. If you ask them what river, what sea, they can't answer. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're saying. They're just indoctrinated. This is really a left-wing form of brainwashing. I mean, that form of brainwashing. This is brainwashing. Well, the Jewish man said, no, we have to support Israel. And they beat him up. His arms are all black and blue. Hopefully it was caught on camera, not that the police may arrest him, but the district attorney, you think the district attorney in North Carolina is going to do anything? Probably not. And this old man was beat up. They could have killed him because I'm sure he didn't fight back. He was in his late 60s. And not everybody has the beautiful body I do. And then also in Paris, a hotel boots out a Jewish family who just happened to be Israel and told them they're not welcome here. So, because he was wearing a yarmulke, and the hotel booted him out. And when I heard the man speak, I realized right away he was Israeli. I thought he was just a religious Jewish man visiting France with his family wearing a yarmulke, but he was Israeli. And then in California, there's it's a place called Moro's. I think it's Los Angeles, but I'm not positive. And it's indoor. You could eat outdoor if the weather's nice. They have an awning, and there's plenty of people sipping coffee and tea. And a Jewish man went in for a cup of coffee. And he was thrown out by the manager or the owner. It was a woman. I don't know if she was manager or owner. And she said, you're not welcome here. Get off the property, because he was wearing a yarmulke too. And he couldn't understand why. And even people sitting outside were seeing this. And they asked, why are you throwing this man out? He was an older man and probably 60, 65. And she said, if you don't leave the property, I'm going to call the police. So as he was heading back to his car, one young server inside, maybe 18, possibly 20 years old, I would say no older than 21, came out with a cup of coffee and gave it to the man for free. So there was a righteous kid. I don't know, today you're a kid till you're 35. There was a righteous young man. And I'm sure he quit, because after the boss saw that, she was going to fire him. So he probably quit as soon as he went back inside. I really don't know what happened to him. The story ended there, just with him handing the man the free cup of coffee. So that's it for me this week, but I got a big story next week, and hopefully I'll have time to do it.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. We've made our predictions, and you've heard us, and this is certainly a critical time.
Oh, hi, can I just say one more thing?
Sure, sure.
Rabbi Kahana used to have the statement, every Jew a 22. Now that I'm an NRA member and I'm in gun stores a bit, not much, but a bit. And I get magazines because we all share, a few of us conservative friends from the gym. There is actually a not too popular, but it's around a 32. You don't see that too much. So now it's every Jew a 32. Get the extra little zip in there.
Rabbi Kahana, by the way, used to say he didn't really mean it. He just used it because it rhymes. He used to say he prefers better. He says there are better weapons than a 22. He said, the only reason I say every Jew a 22 is because it rhymes. But he used to say that because he wanted Jews to pack.
Well, now you could say 32
yeah,
or
more
bigger.
Powerful weapons. Yes, he always wanted that. Anyway, we can make such a difference in this world. There's a way for you to make a difference. Help the Hilltop youth. You know that these are such good people. And They're devoting their lives to such a worthy cause, to save the land of Israel for the Jewish people. This is something God wants, something God commands us to do. This is the cause that people should be supporting. Get involved with us, help us, and spread the word about JTF, because in your heart you know we're right, and in your guts you know they're nuts. For JTF, until next week, this is Chaim Ben Pesach. Shalom.